Hello. Hi, welcome everyone. Prasad sir, over to you. We can start the session at the timing is 10 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah. Yogesh sir, request you to please turn on your camera, please.
Yeah, it is 10 a.m. Hi everyone. Welcome to this lecture series from BVKS, Bharatiya Vima Karmachari Sena. We are always, take pleasure to have the amazing lecturers, amazing faculty. So today we have immense pleasure to introduce you to our amazing faculty, Mr. Yogesh Zanolekar, an engineer by profession and teacher by heart. He has specialization in marine cargo and marine hull, and his lectures are already famous in the YouTube, and he is very famous faculty in Mumbai also. So he is very versatile personality. He is in New India's cricket team also. He is a sportsman, musician, amazing. He is a very amazing person, and I'm really amazed by his talents. And apart from that, he has so keen interest in engineering and marine. He is the go-to person for us. So enough of this introduction. I think everybody knows Yogesh sir. So Yogesh sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Prasad. Thank you, Prasad, for this lovely introduction. So today's lecture, since it is based on marine insurance, see, as it is evident that marine insurance is not a subject that will be covered within 2 hours. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So we will try to finish, and we will try to cover whatever portion that is possible from the exam point of view in these 2 hours. Separate 2 hours will be dedicated for marine hull insurance. Now, I am assuming that you know some basics of marine insurance. It is an assumption. Since we are, I'm not going to ponder a lot upon what is ICC, what is ITC. It is deemed that you understand it, that institute cargo clauses, then institute trade clauses, who designed these clauses. We are not going into that detail because you might have done this in your 13.2 exams preparation or in the earlier. We will try to focus on those clauses which are non-institute clauses. We will try to focus on things which are usually not coming in our daily day-to-day underwriting. I'm sure that very few have written cardamom estate underwriting, coffee, coal, these coal clauses, etc., which are usually a part of the questionnaire which is asked in these examinations. So I've designed the PowerPoint presentation in such a way that we will cover this and also some basics along with it. So I'm just sharing one slide with you. Sometime, just a moment. Yeah. Is everyone able to see this PowerPoint?
Yes, you are able to see the screen. You can full screen this PPT also.
So what I'll do is I'll switch off my video because I think the net at my particular location is not that fine. So let us see. Now, uh, we will start with some basics, and then we will go into some details. So, who basically requires marine insurance? So, buyers, sellers, importers, exporters, then merchants who deal into these import and export activities, banks who are providing hypothecation for marine policies, some contractors, and anyone who is engaged in movement of goods is the person who is requiring marine insurance. In fact, as a layman, you and me also require marine insurance if we are shifting our property from one place to another. If we are relocating and we are sending all our goods from X location to Y location, we require marine insurance. Now, what is the sum insured that is ascertained in marine insurance? Now, all marine insurance policies are agreed value policies, okay, which are also called as valued policies. Now, this is very basic. Now, marine insurance is a different kind of insurance which does not indemnify the insured in a way all other branches do. Fire has a different manner of indemnification, but this is not, a perfect indemnity. Marine policy is not a perfect indemnity policy. It is modified indemnity. We have read this somewhere in our IC 67. Now, again, that is a basic part of marine insurance. Now, once the sum insured is declared in marine insurance, the underwriter cannot question the sum insured unless and until there is a loss. Okay, so the sum insured cannot be questioned unless there is an evidence of fraud or valuation is excessive as to make it speculative in nature, or if there is a loss. And the most popular, while underwriting marine cargo policies, maybe a specific voyage policy or an open cover or an open policy, we usually use this CIF plus 10%. That is cost insurance freight plus 10%, which is clearly mentioned as basis of valuation, and many people mistake it as an Incoterm. Incoterm is the international commerce terms. Usme CIF aata hai. So people think that this is the Incoterm. Basically, they are trade terms, and what we are suggesting over here is basis of valuation. What is the difference between them? We will come to that. Hello? Okay. So, you can say this 10% most popular basis of valuation is CIF plus 10%. What does this 10% comprise of? So it is basically the incidental charges, the buyer's profit margin. So in basis of valuation, the additional 10% is always misunderstood for what it is intended for. This markup of additional 10% is to cover the certain incidental charges, buyer's profit margin. हम लोग उसको कुछ अलग लेते. We have our own ideas of that. Many underwriters have own ideas of that, but it is basically to cover this, the profit margin and the incidental charges that occur at the destination port. So marine cargo certificates is often assigned by CIF seller to an overseas buyer. Including the profit margin enables the seller to sell on high sea basis. So this 10% markup is for that. Now, let us assume one case. this is increased value insurance, and it is not quite famous in India as such. I mean, there are policies of increased value insurance issued, but as far as I have issued so many policies on marine insurance, I never came across one increased value policy. Now, this is a very peculiar kind of a policy. See, what happens is some commodities, there are drastic changes in their prices. On the day when they are shipped from one port to the another, their price is X. And when they reach the destination port, their price is Y, and X is lesser than Y. So in order to take care of this, the person who is sending these goods to the destination port can take a separate increased value insurance, and he can take it from some other insured also. मतलब इधर से उधर कार्गो तो न्यू इंडिया के पास है, but he can take increased value insurance from, let us say, United Airways or maybe some other company. So let us just go through it. So the CIF value includes a markup of 10%, of which includes incidental charges, buyer's profit. However, buyers sometimes find it inadequate. Okay, some commodities are subject to drastic price fluctuations during the voyage. Now, what happens is increased value insurance provides coverages in such cases. What does it help the I mean, the buyer or the seller? They can arrange for this. The buyer may take increased value cover without informing the seller. Hence, increased value insurance can be taken with other insurance company. मतलब buyer ने इधर से उधर कुछ भेजने के लिए न्यू इंडिया से पॉलिसी ली है, but the person who is sitting on the destination port can take another increased value insurance because he knows that the moment the goods land over there, it is going to be of higher price. There might be a price fluctuation. Okay. Assignment of marine certificate and policies. So marine policies are freely assignable. Everyone knows this. It is like the golden rule of marine written in IC 67. See, this helps the CIF seller to buy insurance, to assign it to overseas buyer. So this will enable the seller to claim for any losses or damage that happen. Okay. The assignment can be done by a means of blank endorsement, which in our terminology is called as a bill endorsement. Okay. Now, what are the kind of losses that occur in marine? So basically, there are these many number of losses. Basically, there are two losses: total loss, partial loss. Okay. Now, total loss can be a constructive total loss, and partial loss, which is also called as particular average. Then apart from these two losses, there is a general average. Now, again, general average is something that everyone knows. It is, general average. Jettisoning is general average. Jettisoning is the act of throwing the cargo overboard. If the vessel, if the crew thinks that the vessel is going to sink, they, intentfully they pick up the cargo and throw it off the deck to make the vessel lighter so that it will float. So this is a general average claim. Now, what is a constructive total loss? Everyone might be knowing this. What is a constructive total loss? It is when the damaged property is damaged to such an extent that to revive that property, to bring the property in its natural form as it was prior to the loss, it will cost us so much amount that it is going to exceed the actual sum insured of the commodity, of that particular material. So that is constructive total loss. Okay. Particular losses, particular average are the losses which are partial losses. While underwriting this specific voyage policy, you will come across a very small point at the bottom of the page in attributes, that total loss only. You have to click yes or no. So that means if you want to cover that specific voyage policy only for a total loss, you have to select yes. There is a provision. And if you want to cover particular average, that means if you want to cover partial losses as well, then you have to select no. But nobody does that. It is no, and it remains no there, and it is good for us because we are covering partial losses as well as total losses. Okay. Now, insurable interest. Again, everyone knows this, that in marine, the insurable interest may not exist at the time of the issuance of the policy, but it should be present at the time of the loss. Okay, see, a person who is sitting here, he gets a slip and he is said that you are covering movement of a transformer which is coming from Sweden to India. Okay, now I am not going to go to Sweden to check whether the transformer is so and so and so. Now the person who is sitting in Sweden, he has the insurable interest over here. But once it lands in India, maybe it is for power grid. The power grid people are going to have their insurable interest over here. See, it is not feasible for the underwriter to go and check each and every commodity that has been sent to any location in the world. So that is why it is conveniently considered that insurable interest may not exist at the time of issuance of the policy, but it should exist at the time of claim. Clear title होना चाहिए. Either ABB should have insurable interest or Power Grid should have insurable interest. So the claimant must have insurable interest at the time of loss. He need not necessarily have it when the policy was issued. Incoterms, that is international commerce terms, published by the International Chamber of Commerce, should be the basis to determine which party has insurable interest for a particular leg of transit. Now, there are 14 Incoterms, everyone knows this. They are clearly mentioned in IC 60, I think, marine cargo underwriting. Out of them, let us first of all understand what is Incoterms not actually. Okay, what is Incoterms and what it is not. We will understand that. Incoterms provide a set of international rules for interpretation of most commonly used trade terms, be it domestic or foreign. Okay, first, what it is not allowed. They do not deal with transfer of ownership. They do not deal with transfer of ownership. They do not deal with payment terms. It is just a trade term. They do not deal with payment terms. Okay. कि पेमेंट के टाइम पे तुम लोग मुझे 10% एक्स्ट्रा दो etc. No, it has nothing to do with payment. It is a trade term between two parties. They do not replace the contract of sale. And now we will come to some Incoterms. Now I have prepared two PowerPoint slides. I mean two PowerPoint presentations. Once we finish this, we will go to that, where we will be studying these, some of the Incoterms in slight detail. Yes, Mr. Tappan, you have raised your hand. Okay, I think it was by mistake. Okay, fine. So rules for any mode of transport. Let us not consider only sea. Let us consider any mode of transport. So these are the the Incoterms which are applicable to any mode of transport. Carriage and insurance paid, CIP. Delivery at place. See, delivery at place, DAP, is usually, when In the slip, it is clearly written that expected date of arrival. Okay, not expected date of loading. Expected date of arrival. Matlab, when the goods are delivered at the location, till that the trade term is applicable. Delivery at terminal, that means from the warehouse of the seller to the terminal, to the port or to the airport terminal at the destination. Delivery duty paid. X works means X works matlab he will just prepare the goods and keep it out of the warehouse of the seller. Will keep it out of the warehouse. That is X works. Free carrier. Now we will come to terms which are only applicable to sea transport. CFR, that is cost and freight. Cost, insurance and freight, CIF, which is the most widely used input. Free alongside ship. Matlab, the goods which are packed by the seller will be shipped to the port and it will be kept just beside the ship. There the cover, I mean, there the insurable interest we can say. Yeah, for the seller's trade term ends over there. FOB is free on board. Everyone knows that once the goods are loaded on the ship, it's free on board. Up to when the I'll tell you a very interesting fact. I once heard it by a very renowned lecturer on marine cargo, Mr. Vishwanath, who was from National Insurance. So he was at Kakinada port, and our FOB, you know what is FOB, is free on board. Once the goods cross the ship rails, the cover ceases. That is what was very renowned line in FOB earlier. Once the goods cross the ship's rails, it is the cover ceases. Seller's का insurable interest होगा खत्म होता है. What he observed was there were cranes who were lifting up containers, and the container was steady over here, and there was wind blowing, and the containers were moving like this. Okay, they were moving like this, and at one particular point, they actually crossed the ship rails, and they were suspending above the vessel. Again, they came back. Again, they went back. So actually, logically, they have crossed the ship rails. Now, if the loss occurs, if it comes out and if it falls down, is the loss covered? So that gave rise to this modification in this particular thing, and free on board became free on board, which contained that the ships, the goods should cross the ship rails, has changed now that the goods should be kept on the vessel. It has changed to that. Earlier it was ships should cross the ship rails. Goods should cross the ship rails. Now, marine open policy. Everyone knows about this policy. And so what is it basically? Open policy is something which we issue for a particular sum insured. Okay. We take the premium and then we wait, we sit and we just receive various declarations or various shipment details from the insured throughout the year. It is issued for say 1 crore. Let us assume that we issue the policy for 1 crore on 1st of January 2022, and by the end of 31st December 2022, there are monthly shipments or maybe quarterly shipments, and the sum insured is 80 lakhs. At the end of the year, it is 80 lakhs. So 20 lakhs of sum insured premium we have taken extra. We will straight away return that premium to them. That is marine open policy. Now let us take another example. If 1 crore is the sum insured, policy is issued on 1st of January 2022. And at the end of November, the sum insured exceeds 1 crore. It becomes 1 crore 20 lakhs. At that particular juncture, the policy ceases. Once the premium, once the sum insured is exhausted, the policy ceases. Now, if the person wants to continue this policy, he will have to pay additional premium so that the policy is, the sum insured under the policy is increased and the policy can be continued till the end of the year. All marine policies are annual policies. No marine policy can be issued on short period basis, and our system says that. Okay, although we issue, if it is a marine come erection policy, we issue short period policies, but ideally marine policies are annual policies. Okay, so let us go through this marine open policy. What is it? An open policy is an undertaking to cover all shipments that will be made during the year. The insured may not have the details of the cargo, some insured, voyages, etc. During the currency of the policy, the insured has to provide declarations for a month that mentions details such as bill of lading. अगर vessel से आ रहा है तो bill of lading, अगर air से आ रहा है तो airway bill number, then the date of shipment, then from where it is traveling to where it is traveling. So that once this detail is obtained, we can either issue a certificate or we can enter a declaration. See, we do not require all these details while entering declarations, but while issuing certificates, we require all these details. Declaration के time पे तो कैसे sum insured डालना है? That's it. Okay. Now, certificates can be issued under an open policy. Okay, till a lot of time I was under the I had interpreted this particular policy in a wrong manner. I thought that certificates will be issued only under marine open cover, and open policy में certificates issue नहीं कर सकते. But I was wrong, and it's a story of long back. I mean, this is what I'm talking 10 to 12 years back. A certificate can be issued under an open policy, provided the voyage is taking place. It is an import trade or export trade. If it is an inland trade, we can issue a certificate, but it is not required. We can issue a simple declaration. Okay, certificates can be issued under an open policy as and when the individual voyage takes place. This certificate can be assigned to an overseas buyer, so that in case of a loss, the buyer can claim it from the insurer, or insurer overseas claims handling agent. Okay. Certificates are not required for inland or domestic transits. A simple declaration would suffice. The underwriter has to enter the same at his end of the policy. Usually, the basis of valuation which is taken over here is CIF plus 10%. Now, why is CIF over here if it is an Incoterm? This is basis of valuation. That means this is how the claim will be settled at the time of settling of the claim. This is the amount that is shown which will be settled. Of course, deductible is subtract at the time of the settling of the claim. Okay, so don't mistake this CIF with that CIF. Okay, it is cost insurance and freight. Yes, plus 10% is what I told you earlier. It is the profit margin, incidental charges, बहुत सारे अलग charges रहते हैं. That will comprise of the total claim. Okay, on that, sometimes you will see that basis of valuation is CFR. That is only cost and freight has to be paid. Nothing has to be paid. Okay. Now, you might be knowing this because you might have done marine insurance underwriting. That there is something called as per conveyance limit, and there is something called as per bottom limit. When I say per bottom limit, it means that the limit of sum insured that a vessel can carry in one single journey. See, it is simple that if it exceeds 50 crores, it requires reinsurance. So जैसे हम लोग एक particular open cover certificate issue करते हैं, in which the sum insured is 50 crores. And when we calculate premium and approve the proposal, what we get a pop-up is that this requires head office approval. है ना? This should be sent to head office. It is the reason why. The reason behind that is it requires facultative reinsurance. So per bottom limit plays very important role as far as reinsurance is concerned and our retention limits are concerned. We know that about below 50 crores, our regional office has the limit to provide us the approval. But once it exceeds 50 crores, it requires facultative reinsurance, for which we are not the people to ascertain that. So how per bottom limit plays a role in marine open policy or marine open cover certificate is it helps us to arrange for reinsurance basically. Per conveyance limit is when the vessel, the vessel is replaced by an aircraft. If the goods are coming by air, it is called as per conveyance limit. Then there are sublimits for rail, road, courier services. Then there is location limit. Now, this is very interesting. Can anyone of you tell me what is a location limit? Or are you aware of this location limit? It's a very interesting thing to understand.
In a warehouse, highest amount of goods stored. If there is some warehouse,
that is for
then,
fire, sir. That is for fire. What you're saying is for fire. But I'm talking about location limit per location limit in marine open policy. I'll tell you, sir. I'll tell you. See, as I told you earlier, I am not going to go into minute details because I think that you know this, that once the goods land at the port, we provide coverage up to 60 days. Within 60 days, these goods have to be shifted from the port. Okay. Our cover ceases once 60 days are over. In case of aircraft, this limit is 30 days. In case of road or rail, this limit is 7 days. Okay. Once the goods, let me repeat myself again. Once the goods which are coming by road or rail reach their destination, say terminal, the goods are unloaded over there. Within 7 days, these goods have to move to their destination. Otherwise, our cover ceases. In case of air, this limit is 30 days. In case of vessel, this limit is 60 days. Okay, let us assume that 10 crores is the per bottom limit. Okay. Just analyze this situation. 10 crores is the per bottom limit. Goods are coming, say, from UAE. UAE say goods are, and they are unloaded at, let us assume, Mundra port in Gujarat. Okay. Now, 30 days have passed. The goods are still lying there. Now, another vessel comes with the same cargo and it drops a cargo of 10 crores over there. What has happened at the port is the risk exposure has increased. उधर पहले 10 करोड़ का माल था, अभी उधर 20 करोड़ का माल हो गया. If there is a loss, God forbid, the exposure has increased drastically. 2 times it has increased. Okay, now 40 days passed. These 20 crores of goods are still lying over and they are covered. They are covered because 60 days are covered. Now the third shipment comes and it drops a goods of 10 crores. Now the risk exposure has increased more. It has become 30 crores. Let us assume that 55 days cross and the risk exposure has increased from 10 crores to 30 crores. Now if there is a fire or if there is a loss due to marine peril, the risk exposure of the insurance company has increased, isn't it? That is why the insurance company or the reinsurance company, they apply a limit for this location. The location limit, which is usually twice that of the per bottom limit. Am I clear? Have you understood this concept?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So all these are specified in the policy at inception. ये सब कुछ inception के time पे policy में specified है. You will see if you come across an open cover, you will see that there is a per bottom limit and उसके नीचे ही तुरंत per location limit होता है, which is usually the double of per bottom limit. Usually, the terms and conditions shall be according to ICC and associated war and strike clauses. For domestic, it will be ITCC, ITCB, or ITCA. B by rail. Every open policy is attached with cancellation and classification clause. Okay. Now, what is annual turnover policy? Now,
Sorry,
yes,
sir.
yes.
Could you please explain the classification and cancellation clause?
Open policy is attached with cancel. See, if the policy stands cancelled when the sum insured exhausts, or the period ceases. Classification is again a vessel's classification clause. I hope you understand this.
Yes, sir.
See,
Yes.
if the vessel is not a classed vessel, then institute classification clause is attached to the policy. If it is a classed vessel, then ठीक है चलता है. The vessel has to be classed with some of these 14 classification societies which are there across the world. अपने इंडिया का इंडियन रजिस्टर ऑफ शिपिंग है, अमेरिकन ब्यूरो विस्टा से. The vessel has to be classified at one of these societies. Okay, I hope it is clear. How it is annual turnover policy. Now, in this policy, the most important thing about this annual turnover policy is, underwriter, once the policy has this, once this policy is issued, the underwriter has to simply rest. He has to do nothing. Because there is a provision under annual turnover policy that even if declaration is not given, it is fine. But the actual work is during the designing of the policy. Basically, it covers the annual sales turnover. Now, this includes minor journeys during the period of, this includes the sum insured of raw material. This includes the inter-depot transfers. This includes each and everything. This is a seamless cover. That is why it is a dangerous policy. It is a dangerous policy because covers. Everything is covered. Okay, now look at this. Even though the rate is charged on the sales turnover, all the underlying transits, be it import, be it export, be it domestic purchases of raw materials, including inter-depot transfer. Now, imagine this. You are a factory which is located in Ahmedabad, okay, and you have an annual turnover policy. Goods are coming to you from, say, USA, Germany, okay, that is covered under this policy. Now you are sending this in various warehouses of your own in Ahmedabad, that is covered, okay. Now you are sending these goods from the warehouses to all across India, that is also covered, including loading, unloading. So don't you think that this is a very dangerous policy? I mean, loss can occur at any particular leg of particular leg. Yes. And that is the very reason why annual turnover policies are issued. So the logic behind, the logic being that finished goods turnover includes the, usually ना इसमें raw material का sum insured हम लोग consider नहीं करते. We do not consider the sum insured of raw material because our annual sales turnover, जो अपना finished product है, उसके अंदर तो raw material का sum insured included ही रहेगा ना, है ना? So the finished product sum insured is taken as the sum insured for the annual term. I mean, the total movements that are taking place across the year during the policy period is considered as the sum insured under this policy. Now, insurer does not cover all the underlying transits for free. He charges the insured with a single rate. एक rate लगाता है. He understands first whether the goods are coming from abroad by air or by vessel. If coming by vessel, then are they classed vessels? What is the route of their journey? All these things are weighed and then they arrive at a single rate. And one single rate covers everything. Okay. What is the advantage of an annual turnover policy? Basically, in a single annual turnover policy, we can cover imports, exports, domestic transits, inter-depot charges, transit to and fro to job workers. Let us assume that there is a particular part of an engine which has to undergo some buffing work. So I'm sending this part of the engine to buffing at say Salem in Tamil Nadu. From there it comes back. That is also covered. Okay, so it is basically a seamless cover. Return transits, as I told you. Transits to and fro to the repairers. Inclusion of capital equipment. Okay. Now, so I have broadly covered open policy and annual turnover policy. Now, open cover. See, open cover is not a stamped document. Everyone knows this. Because basically it is an agreement between the insured and the insurer. Okay. The insurer says that I'm in requirement of this particular this is my particular equipment which is coming from XYZ to India, or it is going from India to XYZ. I want cover. So the insurer drafts the policy and shows it to them. This agreement between these two companies, the insured and the insurer, is what is the open cover a testimony of. Under the purview of all this, whatever information is given in open cover, we issue individual certificates. Now, each individual certificate is just like a specific voyage policy. So, open cover के अंदर जो certificates issue होते हैं, तो it is just like a specific voyage policy. What is a specific voyage policy? We need premium before the voyage starts. Same as open cover certificate. We need premium before the voyage starts, and that is the reason why people, they maintain an advance premium deposit in our at our end. जो प्रीमियम चाहिए उधर से उठा. So open cover certificate and specific voyage policy, they are somewhat same. If you look at the draft of that policy, you take a printout of open cover certificate and take out the printout of specific voyage policy. Apart from the top names, nothing will be changed. Everything is a replica of each other. Okay. And logically it is correct. Specific voyage policy is just like open cover certificate. Now, institute cargo clauses. Again, you might be experts in this particular part of the marine insurance. Institute A, ICC A, B, C. Everyone knows that C is a very restricted cover. B is a better cover than C, and ICC A is an all risk cover. It is salam badu cover. Everything is covered in ICC A. Now, let us go through this. There are a number of institute cargo clauses. I will not tell you who designed this cargo clauses because you know. A, B, and C, associated clauses for war and SRCC. Institute Timber Trade Federation Clause, IBO clause, that is Institute Bulk Oil clause, Institute Frozen Food and Meat clause. Now, let us first focus on ICC ABC. Because once you understand ABC, I am 100% sure you will understand all the rest clauses. 100% sure. So ICCA is all risk clauses. That means it does not cover all losses. It is an all risk clause. लेकिन उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि वो सब losses cover करे. What if you willfully go and perform a misconduct over there? You willfully pick up the goods and just throw it. कुछ जहाज डूब नहीं रहा है, लेकिन you just pick it and for the fun of it you throw it up. This kind of losses will not be covered. War is not covered under ICCA. Any losses that are occurring because of any act of war is not covered in ICCA. इसके लिए अलग से war and SRCC लेना पड़ता है. So now emphasis is on risks, that is loss or damage arising from an inevitable event. Okay. In all three clauses, the burden of proof at first instance following a loss or damage is on the insured. हम लोग को prove कर रहे हैं. I mean, the insured has to prove that this loss occurred because of something that is covered under the policy. Okay. Now, let us compare ICCB and ICCC. You do not have to buy heart anything. You do not have to buy heart anything. जो ICCB में covered है, ICCC में जो covered है ना, वो ICCB में तो covered है ही. But apart from that, there is something additional in ICCB. So let us take fire and explosion. It is covered in ICCC as well as in B. Vessel grounded, stranded, and capsized, covered in both. Overturning or derailment of road conveyance, covered in both. Collision of vessel or any other conveyance with external object other than water. यानी अगर vessel दे मारा अगर पोर्ट के ऊपर ही बर्थ रहता है उसके ऊपर दे मारा, losses that are occurring to the vessel to the cargo is covered. Losses that are occurring to the vessel is not covered. वो hull insurance का part है. Losses that are occurring to the port वो तो liability है, वो कहीं और covered है. Don't worry, we will study that in marine hull. Discharge of cargo at port of distress. What is this? Let us assume that the vessel is traveling from, अभी हमेशा vessel क्यों लेंगे, अभी airplane लेते. If the aircraft is traveling from USA to, let us say, Gujarat, and due to some inclement weather, it has to land somewhere in Germany. Somewhere it has to land. This Germany airport is called as port of distress. Let us assume that not due to inclement weather, due to some technical fault in the aircraft, if the vessel is, if the aircraft is landed at Germany port, this is called as port of distress. Now, this is covered. This is covered. I mean, if the loss, if the goods that are carried in the aircraft are perishable goods, and it lands at the port of distress, it waits there for a longer period of time, and the goods, being of the perishable nature, खराब हो गए या उनका प्राइस एकदम बढ़ गया अचानक से, एक मशीनरी है, उनका प्राइस वगैरह बढ़ गया, so it is a loss at the end of the fire, isn't it? This is covered under the policy. Okay. This is called as port of distress. Earthquake, volcanic eruption, lightning is not covered in ICCC, so it is covered in ICCA में तो है ही. General average sacrifice is covered in C as well as B. Entry of C lake, river water, total loss of package, etc., etc., etc. ये सी में कवर्ड नहीं, बी में कवर्ड. Jettisoning is, I told you, intentfully picking up the goods and throwing it off board so as to save the adventure, so as to save the vessel from sinking. That is covered in ICCC, ICCP, and ICCA में तो है. Now, there is one more marine peril. There are many marine perils, but there is one more marine peril, which is called as piracy. Piracy is not covered in C, it is not covered in B, it is only covered in A. It is only and only covered in A. But the prerequisite of a piracy is, if you have seen this movie, Captain Phillips, it's a real story in which a cargo vessel, which is traveling from USA to some part of the world, travels through this troubled waters of Somalia. Either Somalian pirates were there. Now they board the ship forcefully and they take control of the ship. Piracy is called a piracy when there are two ships. That is the prerequisite of it being called as a piracy. There should be the vessel which is under the piracy attack. And there should be another vessel which belongs to the pirates. This is a prerequisite in marine insurance, that then it is called as a piracy. And it is only covered in ICCA. Okay. If the people who are supposedly the pirates, they board the ship at the port and then they take the ship into their control, will it be called piracy? Because piracy का मतलब ये है कि वो ship से ही आना चाहिए दूसरा ship. There should be two ships in there. That is what is piracy. Okay, that is some. It has some other terminology which I told you. अगर पोर्ट पे ही बंदे अंदर चढ़ गए, it has some other terminology. We will study that in our. Now, type of losses covered by.
Is it called hijacking?
It is called as we can call it as hijacking. Sometimes what happens is the crew itself, they take control of the ship. They dislodge the captain and the crew itself takes the control of the ship. That also has a separate terminology. It is called as barratry. What you said is hijacking, correct? The ship port page. That is hijacking. Okay. Now, type of losses covered by ICC.
Sir,
yeah.
Sir, to cover this type of piracy, we have to take SRCC coverage.
SRCC coverage is taken. Yes, it has to be taken. Strike rights and civil commotion can be taken. Otherwise, ICCA covers it. Don't worry. ICCA covers it. Piracy is covered. Your hijacking is covered. Your barratry is covered. Now, all the three cover the following: actual total loss, constructive total loss, partial loss of the cargo, GA sacrifice, GA and salvage contribution. Everything is covered. Now, in ICC ABC, collision liability. Now, यहाँ पे पंगा है. Collision liability is covered only 75%. Okay. Say if there are two vessels and they collide head-on, the losses that is occurring to the ship which is insured will be covered only 75%. The remaining 1/4, that is remaining 25%, will be covered under protection and indemnity insurance, club insurance, P&I club. P&I clubs जो रहते हैं, they provide insurance for that part of marine losses which are not covered under marine policies. So, जैसे मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले बोला था कि एक vessel आया and it hits the berth and the berth is broken, the port berth is broken. So who is going to pay for that port berth? It is covered under by P&I clubs. Now there are P&I clubs. There is no P&I club in India. They are all international and they require heavy fees in order to be a part of that. So all vessels do not, afford to be a part of a P&I club. Now, survey fees, sue and labor charges, incidental charges that are occurring after the losses will be covered. Forwarding expenses, when transit is terminated short of destination due to an insured peril. Let us assume that the vessel is stranded somewhere. Now, stranding or capsizing is covered in marine insurance. In ICC B and as well as in ICC A, it is not covered in C. It is stranded over here. Now, इधर से तो vessel आगे बढ़ नहीं सकती है, so they call another ship, they call another vessel, they unload the goods on that vessel. यहाँ पे जो expenses आते हैं, forwarding expenses, that is covered under ICC and okay. What is not covered? So this is not covered. See, you will understand, you will yourself know this कि ये नहीं cover कर सकते, ये नहीं cover कर सकते. What if you are carrying food grains and you have kept it in open? It is going to undergo loss, isn't it? If you are carrying food grains and you are put it on the vessel and you have kept it open, it is going to undergo loss because of moisture in the air, because of the weather changes. It is definitely bound to. So these are the exclusions. Willful misconduct, ordinary leakage, ordinary loss in weight or volume, ordinary wear and tear, insufficiency in packing, that is what I was talking about, unsuitability of packing, inherent wise, that means the basic uska jo mool dharma hai, inherent wise. See, like potatoes, if they are exposed to moisture, they will form this mold. Uska inherent wise. Loss and damage proximately due to delay. Due to delay. Now, delay cannot be covered. It is delay at the part of the vessel to leave the port. How can it be covered? Losses due to insolvency or financial default of owners, managers, or operators of the vessel. Nuclear risks. Okay. Unseaworthiness. ये तो अपने को पूछते भी है when you are underwriting the policy. Yeah.
Sorry to disturb you, sir.
Yes,
but
sir.
If delay occurs due to insured peril,
Yes, then that is covered.
so it will. Okay.
That is covered. If delay occurs due to insured peril, it is covered. If it is, I told you, it is on the part of the जो charterer है या फिर जो owner of the vessel है, if he has some delay because of his own personal reasons or due to insolvency, yeah, due to loss of, delay in permissions, etc., all losses covered. If there is an insured peril which leads to losses, then that is covered. Unseaworthiness of the vessel. Now we know this unseaworthiness is every vessel has, every cargo vessel, let us say every liquid bulk oil carrying vessel, it has a commercial life of 25 to 30 years. Once this 30 years are over, this vessel is unseaworthy because उसने काफी सारा ऑयल कैरी किया है, उसमें उसके अंदर काफी सारा करोजन हो गया है.
हेलो, सॉरी टू डिस्टर्ब यू, लेकिन ये जो पॉइंट है ना, लॉस डैमेज अप्रॉक्सीमेटली कॉज्ड बाय डिले, अभी जो आपने क्लियर किया, तो जैसे बुक्स में तो आईसी बुक्स में तो लिखा है कि even though the delay may be caused by a risk insured against, it's not payable even though the delay is caused by the risk insured against.
Even if it is caused by insured perils, delay is not covered.
Yes, yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, I have a book in front of me, na, so
okay. Okay. I will have to check it.
Of course.
Okay. Unseaworthiness of the vessel, and then war. As I told you, war and strikes. It is by default ये तो cover नहीं है. We have to take a separate SRCC or war insurance Yeah, war and SRCC insurance. See, when it is a domestic transit, we do not have to take war because we are not in a state of war right now. We have to only take SRCC, that is strikes, rights, and civil commission. But if the vessel is coming from abroad, see, right now there is a tension between Ukraine and Russia, and we, as an underwriting office, we are experiencing, such kind of situations where crude oil is coming from Russia to India. तो इसके लिए तो war risk लेना जरूरी है. Apart from ICCA coverage, we have to take war risk. So war basically is not covered under ICCA. It is a separate cover which has to be taken at an additional premium. Now, deliberate damage to the subject matter, say for example, scuttling of the vessel. Now, this is a loss which occurs in hull. Scuttling of the vessel is usually what, समझो अगर vessel अपनी बुढ़ी हो गई है, it has ended its commercial life. What the charterers or what the owners of the vessel do, they simply carry the vessel at the middle of the ocean and they sink it and they claim it from the hull insurer. Okay, this is called as scuttling of the vessel. Okay, yeah, rust bucket fraud बोलते हैं इसको in marine terminology. So, scuttling of the vessel resulting in total loss. In such case, claim shall not be admissible, but it is very difficult to prove. There is one more thing that is very difficult to prove is that your cargo was lost on high seas. It is very difficult. It is very difficult to trace a cargo once it is stolen on high seas. क्योंकि वो नियरेस्ट पोर्ट पे जाके बेचा जाता है, भले वो साउंड कंडीशन में हो या अनसाउंड कंडीशन में हो. This doesn't matter. You cannot track your cargo once it is lost. Piracy is only covered in ICCA. It is not covered under ICC B and C. Now, piracy includes piratical ransoms. Okay. Hence, physical loss of the cargo or piratical ransom. Once the vessel is under pirates' control, they can ask for ransom. वो general average के under cover हो जाता है. Okay. Under general average are not covered under ICC B and C. Okay. A में widening the cover. Abhi, there are a lot of clauses which are, we can say them incidental clauses, or we can call them non-institute clauses, which were later introduced in order to widen the cover. ICCA covers all risks, but still there are some clauses that were specific to the nature of the cargo that is being carried. And depending on the nature of the cargo that is carried, these clauses were designed. Now, first of all, not all cargo is carried by vessel. Some cargo may be carried by aircraft. Lekin apna ICC ABC, if you read it, we feel that all the cargo must be carried by vessel only. Because udhar vessel, seaworthiness, ship, adventure, ये सब words are, which are all associated to sea. So that is why an aircraft clause is added. When this aircraft clause is attached to the policy, it means that ship is nothing but aircraft, vessel is nothing but aircraft, seaworthiness is nothing but airworthiness. Okay, these words are simply exchanged as the conveyance mode changes. So there are no institute clauses equivalent to ICC B and C for air transit. क्योंकि देखो ICC air ही है, ICC A, B, C है, and then there is ICC air. Have you ever come across ICC air B, ICC air C? No, we haven't. So ICC air ही है ना, तो ये generalized है एकदम ICC air. So Then the aircraft clause is attached to the policy, wherein the words like ship, vessel, seaworthiness are deemed to include aircraft, airworthiness. Another incidental clause is air freight replacement clause. Now, in an event of the loss, the insurer agreed to pay the air freighting for repairs and return voyage, even though the actual voyage took place by vessel. Goods यहाँ से, let us assume not a transformer, let us take a rectifier. एक rectifier रहता है. It has flown from ABB Sweden to, let us say, Mundra Port. Mundra Port पे आ गया. Mundra Port पे when it was discovered, it was discovered within 30 days कि अरे ये तो इसमें थोड़ा सा रिपेयर का जरूरत है because alignment इसका हिल गया. तो we will have to send it back and get it repaired. But we want it very quickly. So what we will do is we will not send it by a vessel, we will send it by aircraft. These cases will attract, यहाँ पे air freight replacement clause है, अपने को काम, मतलब insured को काम किया. Concealed damage clause. Now it is just.
Yeah. To attach air freight replacement clause, we have to pay extra premium.
I did not get you, sir. What? Air freight replacement clause.
We have free to pay, or chargeable?
No.
Free or chargeable?
It is a clause. It is not chargeable. Okay. Now these may be attached or may not be attached. See, अगर broker का slip देखोगे तो everything is given that covered, shutout cargo covered, tail end risk covered. But we as underwriters, we should analyze the risk and then provide what is covered and what is not. Because even if we provide a cover for free, it might cost the company up for some value. So it has to be a part of prudent underwriting. However, there is a provision that we may cover this without. Okay. Considered concealed damage clause. Now we have come across these kind of losses a lot of times because we had a client IIT Bombay, जहाँ पे काफी सारे research equipments. They flew from all over the world to IIT Bombay at Powai. So once these goods, they came in cardboard boxes and they had an indicator outside. If there is any misalignment of the material inside the box, or if there is any crack or minor damage inside the box, that red light glowed. That red light glowed. And once that red light glowed, the insured told us, we appointed a surveyor. It was opened. And then it was found out whether it was just a misalignment or was there actual crack. Now, in this case, concealed damage was immediately recognized. What if the goods are coming by container? It is very difficult to analyze concealed damage when the goods are coming by a container. Okay, let us समझो container आ गया है, गिर गया नावा शेवा पोर्ट पे रुका है. Now the person goes after 2 months and sees and opens the container and says, "This all goods are damaged. I want cover for this because I have taken marine insurance." Concealed damage clause has a period of discovery of 30 days. Within 30 days, this loss should be discovered. Otherwise, it is not covered. See. It is also called as delayed discovery of loss clause. Now, concealed damage is Indian terminology. Delayed discovery of loss is international terminology. Nowadays, packing technology and containerization has advanced to such an extent that any damage of any extent to the packed cargo is only revealed when the package is opened at the time of erection. The clause is applicable only if the damage is discovered within 30 days of the cessation of the risk. Once the goods land at the destination, within 30 days, this loss has to be discovered. Otherwise, it is not. Container clause. You know that the biggest marine insurance loss that occurred recently was the stranding of this vessel Evergreen in the canal. It was a container ship. Did you see the number of containers it had on it? It was immense. If you ever see a container ship, it is just like a giant. A very small vessel carrying a huge number of containers on it. ऐसा लगता है कि over-dimensional cargo है, लेकिन नहीं है. The vessel has the capacity of carrying that container. Now, container clause में क्या होता है? Suppose you are an importer and exporter, and you want to export some of your goods using containers from Mumbai to Shanghai. Are you personally going to go at the container terminal and select कि मेरे को ये container दे, मेरे को ये container दे? No, we cannot do that. We cannot do that. And now we cannot do that. So the container people, the owner of the container yard, can provide us with any containers, and that container can be damaged. It might have some holes because of erosion. इसके अंदर से पानी आ सकता है ना? See, just let us go through this. The case in which cargo is carried through containers, and the containers have holes and rust spots, which lead to seepage of rainwater and a substantial loss. In this case, pre-shipment survey is suggested. Lekin how many times are you going to provide pre-shipment surveys? If it is an open cover certificate and your goods are going from Mumbai to Shanghai every 15 days, are you going to provide, are you going to arrange for pre-shipment surveys every 15 days? It is not feasible. It is not feasible at all, economically as well. Okay. However, if the turnover is substantial, the insured has no control over the choices of the containers, and pre-shipment becomes difficult to implement. इसीलिए ये container clause लगा. As I told you, since every 15 days अगर उसका consignment जा रहा है, it's not feasible for us to arrange for pre-shipment survey. That is the particular reason why container clause is attached. Now then, there is a container demurrage charges clause. What is demurrage charges? See, the container does not belong to me. I am the importer. The container does not belong to me. I took the container on rent from you people. You are at Nhava Sheva. You are based at Nhava Sheva. I took your container. I brought it to, let us say, Mundrapur. And from Mundrapur, I sent the cargo to Shanghai. The empty container came back, but it was delayed. So it was further delayed on my behalf. It was further delayed to return that container to the container terminal. This is called as demurrage charges. Returning the empty container back to the container yard is called as demurrage. See, the demurrage charges are to be reimbursed by the insurers when a container cannot be sent back to the terminal before the agreed due date, provided the delay was caused due to an insured peril. Okay. अगर इन uninsured peril के वजह से अगर ये loss delay हुआ है, it is not covered. Okay. Then cutting clause. Everyone knows this. It is related to pipes. Cracked or broken parts of the pipes are cut. जितना खराब हो गया उसको salvage कर देते हैं, जितना अच्छा है उसको use करो. This is called as the cutting clause. Likewise, there is garbling clause, which is associated with what? Can you tell me? Garbling clause. Right?
कॉमोडिटीज का एक दूसरे में मिक्स हो जाना, फिर उसको सेपरेट करना, उसको गार्बल कहते हैं।
हाँ हाँ हाँ, गार्बलिंग, दैट इज यूजुअली एसोसिएटेड विद टोबैको। इट इज यूजुअली एसोसिएटेड विद टोबैको। अगर टोबैको थोड़ा भीग गया तो जो भीगा हुआ है उसको साइड में करते हैं, जो साउंड है उसको अलग करते हैं, दैट इज गार्बलिंग क्लॉज। नाउ डेब्रिस रिमूवल क्लॉज, expenses incurred for removal and disposal of debris following a loss due to an insured peril are payable. However, expenses incurred to mitigate pollution or contamination or liability is not payable. Okay, so pollution and contamination are exclusions. Remember this. See, I'll tell you one case which happened. When an oil tanker is usually अगर वो oil carry कर रहा है, and if there is a spillage, a 10-second of spillage can cause the entire 10-kilometer stretch of ocean to be polluted because of it. तो ये environmental liability हो जाता है. This pollution is not covered under marine. This is a totally different policy. Environmental liability, it is a huge loss. Environmental liability, pollution which leads to contamination of water, etc. Okay. Now, deck cargo. See, usually cargo is not supposed to be stored on deck. जो cargo deck पे stored है, वो cargo नहीं है, according to marine terminology. Sir, the term goods does not include cargo stored on deck. Cargo cover for deck cargo is usually restricted to ICCC. Okay. In certain cases, it can be extended to ICCA by paying additional premium. Remember this. Cargo on deck is not cargo. It requires additional premium या फिर उसको restricted cover. Errors and omissions clause. Now, you might be associated with this kind of clause in engineering as well. In case the insured has provided incomplete information about the cargo and its related sum insured erroneously or inadvertently, he shall inform the insurer the same once it becomes known to him. Subsequently, an additional premium is to be paid in case there is less sum insured declared. या फिर अगर ज्यादा डिक्लेयर किया तो हमारी तरफ से रिफंड करते हैं. So that error and omission clause is attached. Now, loading unloading clauses. Major losses in marine insurance, especially when the goods are coming by vessels, are caused during this particular part. समुद्र का जर्नी खत्म हो गया, goods are unloaded. Have you ever seen how a tanker is how a container is unloaded? There is a huge crane. It picks up the container. इधर से इधर होते हैं रख दे. Any accident that occurs during that unloading part, which usually occurs 100 में से कम एक तो बार होता ही है unloading के time पे losses. Then that particular loss stands covered. Now, when we receive a slip from the brokers, you will see that loading unloading clause included, covered. उनको चाहिए रहता है. They also want something else. Shut out cargo covered, tail end risk covered. Have you ever seen this? Shut out cargo, tail end risk. Do you know what is the shut out cargo and tail end risk is?
कार को लेट पहुंचा हो या शिप पूरा भर गया हो तब.
Exactly. When the cargo reaches the port very late and the place where it was intended to be stored on the vessel has been occupied already. तो वो हो जाता है tail end risk. Sorry, shut out cargo. Usually इसको फिर उठा के डेक पे रख देते हैं, है ना? So the risk exposure has increased. Ideally it should have been given ICCC, लेकिन वो अगर ICCA में covered हो गया तो और risk cover हो गया ना. So this has to be prudently seen by the underwriter when we receive the slip कि shut out cargo yes किया, covered किया है तो उसको not covered करो. Shutout cargo is, I think I've made it clear. The sir who gave the answer also made it clear that the cargo that reaches late at the port and is not stored or placed at the place which is intended. It was intended to be placed on the vessel. उसको उठा के deck पे रख देते हैं. That is a very high risk. Packers clause. We will come what is tail end risk. We will come to that. Packers clause. Before the warehouse to warehouse cover begins, it does not include the journey of the goods to the packer's premises and its journey back to the warehouse. Most of the times there are units that prepare goods, but they do not pack them. There are a lot of units in B1D like that. बहुत सारा units है जो एकदम high end products को सिर्फ pack करता है. Because the actual company just produces the product, it does not pack it. Okay, so the goods which are prepared, this high-end good, let us say, assume sound system, it is prepared, but it is not packed. It is sent to the packer's warehouse. Okay, for packing. फिर वो pack होता है उधर से और इधर आता है. What if there is a loss during that journey? For that, this packer's clause is specified over here. Before the warehouse to warehouse cover begins, it does not include the journey of the goods to the packer's premises and its journey back to the warehouse. A separate cover for the same is to be taken by the insured. Remember this. Okay, separate cover has to be taken. Repacking clause. Now, before repacking clause, let us come to return shipment clause. If I ordered iPhone 13, I'm sitting in Mumbai, and the vessel and the cargo is coming, let us say from Shanghai. Shanghai से आ रहा है. मैंने iPhone 13 को ऑर्डर दिया है, बंदे ने भेज दिया iPhone 11. So this is not the cargo I was requiring. I mean, this was not the cargo that was asked for or I have paid the money for. So this has to be returned back from where it was sent. So in case the goods received at the destination are rejected by the buyer and returned to the seller, the insurers understand that it is difficult to find an insurer who would cover this return shipment. They choose to cover the same with some conditions. Okay. What are those conditions? ये लंबा चौड़ा list. Again, just in order to make you aware of what is return shipment. Now we come to repacking. Packing clause तो हम लोगों ने पढ़ा. इसके पहले ही packing clause, repacking clause. In case if the goods reach the final destination without damage, insurers do not pay for repacking expenses. However, if the goods were meant for onward sales, then repacking charges are payable, provided the damage of packing was due to the insurer. कभी कभी होता है कि मल्टीपल लेवल्स ऑफ पैकिंग रहता है. एक पैकर के पास से पैक होके आया है, अभी वो दूसरे पैकर के पास जाना है in the next port, at the next port. This entire study has been done and these two clauses have been attached, packing clause and repacking clause. Okay. Seals clause. Shortage from seal intact containers is very common. मतलब sealed है लेकिन उसके अंदर शॉर्टेज. कोका कोला का एक कैन है, इसके अंदर 330 ml रहना चाहिए लेकिन नहीं है, इससे कम. The clause enables the insurer to subrogate the rights against the carriers or bailies from the insurer. Okay. Now, apart from this, I am going to share one more PowerPoint presentation with you. I'll just come to that page. These are the incidental clauses or non-institute clauses on which a lot of questions are asked. So let me just share this page as well. Yeah, are you able to see this? Age of the, let us come to first the clauses. See, are you able to see this? Incidental clauses.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So comprehensive clause. What it covers is this. TP&D, can anyone tell me? Theft, pilferage, non-delivery. है ना? ये सुना होगा आपने marine insurance में. Theft, pilferage, and non-delivery. It is an extension to ICCB cover. Now, institute replacement clause. It is applicable only for new machines. And second-hand machinery, second-hand replacement clause, it is applicable only for second-hand machines. Now, keep this in mind during underwriting that whenever there is shipment of second-hand machinery taking place, you have to ensure that the cover given is ICCB and second-hand replacement clause is attached to it when only second-hand machines are involved. Okay. अभी वो ICCB का ICCA तब हो सकता है if the client has a lot of premium chunk at your underwriting office. Otherwise, ideally, it is ICCB. Internationally, it is ICCB and second-hand replacement clause that is compulsorily to be attached when the machines that are traveling are second-hand machines. Parent set clause. I guess everyone knows what is a parent set clause. So the damaged part रहता है उसका ही पैसा मिलेगा. Cutting clause we have already done. Label clause, brand and trademark clause. You know this. अभी यहाँ पे एक mistake है applicable up to 30 days रहना चाहिए 40 days. Cost of removal of debris, we have done that. Picking clause. जैसे garbling clause tobacco में था, ऐसे picking clause cotton bales में रहता है. अगर cotton bales भीग गए, the cotton bales are wet, what happens is we take the sound part of the cotton, we rebale it, and we sell it at the destination. If जो unsound part है, it is okay. Garbling is related to tobacco, as I told earlier. Loading, unloading clause we have done. Shutout cargo also we have done. Now there is one more thing which was tail end risk that we did, right? Okay, it is not written over here, tail end risk. Let me tell you what is tail end risk is. Let us assume that the goods are coming from the warehouse of the buyer, seller, to the warehouse of the buyer, and the goods have already reached Nhava Shiva port. और उधर इंश्योरेंस खत्म हो गया. Insurance has ceased over there because it has reached the destination port. Insurance has closed. Now the final leg of the journey is remaining. That is from the port to the warehouse of the buyer. ये बाकी है. What we will do? Will you cover it blindly just like that? Despite knowing that the vessel has traveled all the way, despite knowing the fact that the goods have traveled from the warehouse of the seller to the port, then they have been loaded on the vessel, then the vessel has traveled all across the sea, then it has reached the port, then it was unloaded at the port, and now you are told to take insurance from this port to the final warehouse. Are you certain that there was no loss during this journey? No. We do not know. This particular leg of the journey is called as a tail end risk, and it is an extremely dangerous part of risk. Tail end risk, मतलब वो हाथी गया है, उसका tail ही बाकी है. It is because of that, exactly because of that terminology. हाथी गया लेकिन पूंछ रह गया उसका. It is that tail end risk, the final leg of the journey, which is the most dangerous part of the journey, because we do not know what losses are there prevailing inside that concealed container. And once अगर हमने लिया हमने चलो ले लिया without insurance, without pre-inspection मैंने pre-shipment survey मैंने ले लिया, and the goods reached the final destination and it was open, there was a loss. Now, who is going to prove whether the loss was during the final leg of the journey or during unloading or during the vessel when it was in the ship, in the sea, or during loading at the departure port? We cannot ascertain that. That is why tail end risks are very high risks and they should not be entertained before performing a pre-shipment survey. Okay. That is what is called as a tail end risk. Now, let us go back. Okay. Yes. These are some associated clauses. Institute strikes clauses cargo. Now, losses due to strikers, locked out workmen or persons taking part in labor disturbances, riots, and civil commotions. Okay. Any person acting from a political motive. General average salvage charges incurred to avoid loss from the risk covered. Everything is under institute strikes clauses. Now, duration of cover is limited to 60 days. What is excluded in institute strikes clauses? So losses arising due to shortage, absence, withholding of labor resulting from strikes, lockout, etc. Losses arising out of frustration of voyage. Now, this is a very peculiar kind of a loss. A vessel has come very close to the port, and it observes. It was told to the captain of the vessel that there is some unrest on the port. You don't bring your vessel right now to the port. You just stand here. So the vessel docks itself at some distance, say 5 to 10 kilometers from the port. और उधर strike चल ही रहा है, उधर civil commotion चल ही रहा है. The vessel stands over here. This is called as frustration of voyage. It is just standing over here, it cannot move ahead because there is some unrest at the port. This is called as frustration of voyage. Okay. So, if there is a loss leading to this, it will be excluded under institute strikes clause. Other exclusions are exactly the same as ICC A, B, and C. Okay. We have gone through this. Yes. यहाँ पे एक important point है देखो. When registered mail postal sendings are by air, only total loss is covered. Partial loss is not covered. Otherwise, sub ICC clause उसको attached है. Okay. Exclusion sub as per ICC clauses. Duration of cover is limited up to 15 days. Okay. But only total loss is covered. Just remember this. Registered mail, postal sending by air. We have gone through this. Happy enough? Yes. This is what I was trying to focus on. Institute cargo clauses take care of cargoes of general nature. See, कार्गो क्लॉजेस है ना, वो मशीनरी का ले लेता है कंसिडरेशन में, क्लोथिंग्स, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक इक्विपमेंट्स. It is a general sort of cargo. But what if a specific kind of cargo is traveling? Let us say coal. Coal is a very dangerous cargo. Coal is a very dangerous cargo because we know that it can undergo self-oxidation and it can cause spontaneous combustion. है क्या नहीं? तो उसके लिए कुछ अलग से clauses होने चाहिए. And this kind of cargo is related to a specific kind of a trade. That is why these clauses are called as institute trade clauses. Okay. Now, what institute trade clauses is, it deals with the number of commodities which require special clauses to provide for the particular hazards. The clauses have been drafted by ILU in agreement with the concerned trade associations. Now, ये कौन से हैं? Coverage, remember, it is similar to ICC A, B, and C. Remember that. And for what is it? Cocoa, coffee, cotton, fats, and oil not in bulk, hides, skins and leather, metals, oil, seeds and sugar, tea. अभी हम सब ट्रेड कार्गो क्लॉजेस करेंगे नहीं, बट एक 3-4 हम लोग क्लॉजेस करेंगे, बिकॉज द टाइम डज नॉट परमिट अस टू डू दैट. Remember one thing, that the most common type of cargo that is moving across the world 24/7 is crude oil. It is crude oil. उसको ICCA है ही, लेकिन apart from that, it is given an IBO clause, Institute Bulk Oil Clause. If you come across any annual turnover policy or any open cover which is covering the commodity oil, crude oil, or mineral oil, you will come across this IBO clause. We will come to that. First, let us focus on Institute coal clauses. The clauses say that the cover is exactly similar to that of ICCB. However, in addition, see, these are trade clauses because these are for specific kind of commodity. ICCB general cargo को कवर करता ही है, लेकिन अगर कोल को कवर करना है ICCB को, उसमें थोड़ा सा मॉडिफिकेशन चाहिए, इसीलिए ये ट्रेड क्लॉज बनाया है. Apart from that, fire and explosion due to spontaneous combustion is covered in coal clauses. What it? Fire and explosion due to spontaneous combustion is covered under Institute coal clauses. Fire due to inherent vice. Inherent vice is an exclusion in ICC clauses. लेकिन इधर inherent vice के ये भी covered. Okay, Institute coal clauses. Institute jute clause. Now everyone knows what is jute. Cover is similar to that of ICCB. Okay. Apart from that, what is covered? See, earthquake, volcanic eruption, and lightning is not covered. Okay. Cover is attached if the subject matter insured in jute only. अगर jute है तो ही. Duration of cover is reduced to 30 days. Instead of 60 days. ICC clauses में क्या है? 60 days है ना, पोर्ट पे उतरने के बाद 60 days. Once the goods are unloaded at the port, and termination of contract of carriage is reduced to 15 days, जो 30 days रहते हैं, 50% करते हैं, because jute is exposed to atmospheric losses. खराब हो सकता है. Jute in its crude version, it can absorb moisture, it can go bad, और जरा भी moisture उसने absorb कर लिया ना, तो वो buyer है ना, उसको reject कर देता है. That is why this IBO, this is what I was talking about. Cover can be provided under ICC A, B, or C, or under IBOC cover. Covers are identical, and in addition we can cover this also. देखो क्या क्या cover कर सकता है. Contamination and pollution, was it covered in ICC A and B? अच्छा, contamination and pollution of the cargo बोल रहा हूँ मैं, it was not covered. Either contamination covered. Loss due to negligence, see depending upon the cargo. अगर cargo bulk oil है तो महंगा है काफी, है ना? तो यहाँ पे ड्यू टू नेग्लिजेंस लॉसेस जो है वो कवर किए जाते हैं. ड्यूरिंग ट्रांसशिपमेंट, नाउ व्हाट इज ट्रांसशिपमेंट इज when cargo is transferred from one vessel to another vessel, that is called as transshipment. Now the biggest transshipment that occurs is in a single buoy mooring policy. We will do that in marine hull, but let me just tell you what is single buoy mooring is. A tanker, let us say it is a VLCC, very large crude carrier. It can only it can only dock at certain ports in the world. सब ports पे dock नहीं कर सकता है क्योंकि वो बहुत बड़ा रहता है हल उसका. Let us suppose it cannot dock at Mundra. It cannot. Let us suppose it cannot dock at Mundra port because it is a small port. वो करता क्या है, वो 40-45 किलोमीटर अंदर खड़ा रहता vessel. And from there, using pipes, there is a buoy which is fitted in the ocean using cables and wires. उसके अंदर वो तेल डालता है पूरा. And this oil then is transferred using other pipes to the port. Now this is called as transshipment. Now any losses that occur due to transshipment is covered under IBO clause. Okay. Exclusions, same as ICC clauses, except the one related to packing, क्योंकि इधर पैकिंग का जरूरत ही नहीं रहती. बल्क ऑयल है तो वो कंटेनर के अंदर टैंकर के अंदर भर के ही आता है, उधर कोई पैकिंग का ही नहीं. ड्यूरेशन ऑफ कवर इज 30 days. कॉफी पॉलिसी, ओके. नाउ it is not issued at all locations in India. It is issued especially in this areas where there is coffee plantation. तो यहाँ पे 3 टाइप का पॉलिसी रहता है. एक रहता है फुल पैकेज, दूसरा रहता है प्लकिंग टू दी क्यूरिंग हाउसेस, और तीसरा रहता है क्यूरिंग हाउसेस टू एफओबी पॉइंट. ओके. नाउ फुल पैकेज पॉलिसी will cover everything, and it will also cover 120 days of storage in the network. Now, what questions are asked in this is the storage day, number of days of storage. Okay. Full covering plucking and transit to curing houses. Policy covering plucking and transit. Plucking मतलब coffee beans pluck करके curing houses में transit करने का. उधर storage है 60 days का limit. Now, transit from curing houses, once the curing house have processed the coffee beans, उसको FOB point पे, मतलब जिधर भेजने का है वर्ल्ड में, उधर तक लेके जाओ, वो तीसरा लेग है पॉलिसी का, for 60 days storage. And from curing houses to buyers anywhere in India, उसके लिए भी 60 days का storage. So basically, the coffee estate owners can go for any of these policies. Usually they go for full package policy, जहाँ पे right from plucking it is covered to the FOB point, या to the shop where it is going to be sold. उधर तक पूरा cover हो जाता है. Risk covered is same as ITC-A. SRCC can be covered at an additional premium. Basis of settlement is on market value basis. क्या पता, क्योंकि कॉफी का प्लांट मैंने आज लगाया और मेरे को कॉफी समझो मिला 8-9 महीने बाद. There has been a change in value of coffee across the world. तो वो market value basis पे होता है. Duration of cover is 120 days for type 1 policy, 60 days for type 2, 3 and 4 policies. Type 2 and 3 and 4 is depending के कहाँ से कहाँ. Elaichi policy for cardamom estates. Again, it has 3 kinds of policies. Basically 2 kinds of policies. तीसरा transit policy. पहला है full package policy और दूसरा है picking the जो कार्डेमम निकाला है वो पिक करके उसको ऑक्शनर के पास लिखेगा. Okay, this is another policy. Full package policy covers everything, and it covers 120 days of storage. Policy covering picking to owners, auctioners, go down. That means उधर से सिर्फ पिक करने का और उधर से ऑक्शनर के गोडाउन तक लेके जाना. उधर के लिए the storage period is 90 days. And finally is transit policy. That means from the auctioner's warehouse या godown to various parts of India, जहाँ पे लेके जाने का end user. That is transit. So all the risks that are covered are exactly same as that of coffee policy. And coffee policy में जो भी risk covered है वो है ITC. The risks covered are as per ITC. Now, what all risks are covered in ITC-A, we will not go into that detail because it is going to take a lot of time. Then we come to package policy for rubber estates. Now, there are three types of policies again: full package policy, to full package policy up to FOB policy, and then finally transit policy for centrifuge latex. मतलब वो जो liquid latex रहता है इसको harden करके फिर rubber बनता है. 120 days is the storage period. Risk covered is again ITC-A. Settlement is on market value basis. So now T-crop insurance. Okay. Very few questions are asked on this, but since we are doing this particular part, we have to go through this. Coverage is inland transits are subject to inland transit railroad, मतलब ITC-A. ओके, अगर वेसल से जा रहा है तो इनलैंड ट्रांजिट, इनलैंड वेसल्स क्लॉजेस. ओवरसीज शिपमेंट के लिए ICC-A, इंस्टीट्यूट कार्गो क्लॉजेस एयर इफ इट इज गोइंग बाय एयर. एक्सक्लूजन इज लॉस ड्यू टू फॉल्ट, शॉर्टेज, नेग्लिजेंस, ट्रेड लॉस और होल्डर. एंड रिमेंबर दिस, ये एक दो बार आके गया है क्वेश्चन. नो कवरेज फॉर स्टैंडिंग क्रॉप्स अदर देन हेल. However, the liability is limited to 50%. Remember this. एक बार आके गया क्वेश्चन कि standing crops cannot be covered in this except for hail. Hail storm अगर हो गया तो it is covered, but उसका भी liability limited है. It is up to 50%, not more than that. T-crop insurance. Remember. Now, this is sort of a khichdi policy, multi-modal transport. You know, a multi-modal transport is one vessel, one cargo traveling through multiple modes. It is changing hands at every, every leg of the journey. It is being loaded, unloaded. यहाँ से वहाँ डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया जा रहा है, वहाँ से थोड़ा कार्गो और उठाया जा रहा है. That is multi-modal transport. So let us यहाँ पे है ना मल्टी मोडल ट्रांसपोर्ट, MMI इंश्योरेंस जो रहता है ना, यहाँ पे कैरियर्स लायबिलिटी इंश्योरेंस काफी होता है. कैरियर्स लायबिलिटी, बिकॉज सी द गुड्स आर गोइंग टू बी ट्रेवलिंग थ्रू वेरियस मोड्स ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्ट. Who will be responsible for the goods? It will be the carrier, right? It will be the carrier who will be responsible for any damage that is occurring to the goods. तो यहाँ पे carrier liability का भी फंडा एक हो जाता है. Now let us understand what is multimodal transport. Basically, what I told you is multimodal transport when during each leg of the journey the mode of transport or mode of conveyance changes. So look, the policy covers legal liabilities. It is a liability policy, remember this. Out of physical loss or damage to the cargo while in care, custody and control of the insurer, or a party who has contracted or subcontracted to provide transport services. Let us take an analogy. You are a person who has given me the responsibility of taking your goods from X city to Y city. but the journey is going to take place in multiple modes. I'm going to pick the goods by truck, then I'm going to unload it, then I'm going to load it on another truck. Okay, then I'm going to unload it at some location Z, then I'm going to unload it, load it on some other conveyance, and then I'm finally going to unload it. अभी ये पूरे टाइम पे the insurable interest is mine because I am the person who is having your goods held in trust with me, isn't it? So I am the person who is responsible. So it is my liability towards you. That is what is carrier's liability is. That is multimodal transport. So basically it is a liability policy. See, physical loss or damage to the vessel or equipment owned or operated by the subcontractor or a customer. Consequential loss or business interruption resulting from the above. Unrecoverable cargoes contribution to general average. Fines and duties. तो अगर कार्गो डिस्चार्ज करते वक्त अगर जो फाइन लगता है because of my negligence, because of my delays, all this will be covered. So it is, see, I have to safeguard my interest because I am the carrier who is going to carry your cargo from multiple modes of transport. So it is my liability towards you. So I have to cover that cargo. So in order to cover that cargo, it is a very dangerous policy. Let me state, first of all, very dangerous. Then third party liability also is covered. It can be taken as an extension. क्योंकि मेरे वजह से अगर वो कार्गो लेते जाते हैं मैंने किसी को ठोक दिया. What about that? So it's a very dangerous policy where goods are exposed to a lot of danger and goods are in my trust. I am holding the goods in trust. So it is very difficult to adjust it. This is called as multimodal transport insurance or carrier's liability. Okay. Now we come to a very final leg of marine insurance. See, what I've tried to do is I have tried to encompass whatever I could in this because marine insurance is something which cannot be covered in 2 hours. So I'm trying to encompass whatever is asked, whatever has been asked in the previous exams, and whatever is important as far as marine insurance underwriting is important. I have just encompassed all those things and put them together. Now, marine reinsurance. As I said you that per sending limit or per location limit are the factors that decide the arrangement of the reinsurance. Okay. Basically, there are 2 types of reinsurance. One is proportional, which means treaty insurance, or facultative reinsurance. And another is excess loss of insurance, excess loss of treaty. Abhi kya hota hai, see, when we are underwriting a marine cargo open cover certificate, if the sum insured is more than 50 crores, we get an error. This certificate, this insurance requires facultative, capital mein aata hai. Kindly send it to the head office for approval. Facultative bold mein aata hai. वो facultative is nothing but proportional reinsurance. Everyone is aware of what is facultative reinsurance. It is case to case basis. I will present a case to the reinsurer. The reinsurer will analyze the case and he will decide whether he has to take it or not. That is facultative reinsurance. Treaty insurance is once the treaty is signed between me and the reinsurer, whatever risks I'm going to underwrite under that particular treaty has to be covered straight away by the reinsurer. Excess loss of insurance is triggered after a certain event. Excess loss. Let us just go through it. Treaty reinsurance. Annual reinsurance program for 1 year. And during this period, whatever risks allowed by the reinsurer, underwritten by the insurer, would automatically be ceded to the treaty. Now, it is usually based on lines. वो जितना number of lines रहता है वो अपना retention limit और insurer का limit decide करता है. See, if the reinsurance treaty is of 10 lines, the reinsurer supports 10 times the retention limit of the direct insurer. Okay, if it's a 10-line treaty and our retention limit is 50 crores, 10 times, that is 500 crores will be taken care of by the reinsurer. Okay, now treaty fact insurance, that is the reinsurer has the complete freedom. I told you, the reinsurer will decide whether he has to cover this or not. It is on his discretion. The reinsurer has the complete freedom to accept or reject a risk or to impose conditions to cover the risk beyond the retention limit of the insurer. And excess loss, ये एक थोड़ा सा अलग टाइप का reinsurance है, which triggers after a certain incident and it has layers on it. So it is like what, it is like a fruit which has multiple layers. Okay, a fruit जिसका पहला लेयर अगर ये हो गया, तो we will just consider this thought in your mind and we will go through this. You will understand what I'm trying to say. This arrangement works in layers. The first layer is the excess layer for direct reinsurer, direct insurer. There can be different reinsurers for different layers. If the loss is within the first layer, reinsurer will not participate. लेकिन अगर पहले लेयर तक लॉस पहुंच गया तो पहला रीइंश्योरर उसमें काम करेगा. अगर दूसरे लेयर तक लॉस पहुंच गया तो दूसरा रीइंश्योरर उसमें आएगा. So underwriters become more cautious when underwriting this policy. In selection of the risks, since the first layer of the risk is with the direct insurer. So depending upon the type of program, reinsurance programs these people, the underwriting company has, the underwriter has to decide the retention limit for a particular. Of course, these are totally something related to reinsurers. However, this was supposed to be, told. So I introduced this part as well in this particular thing. There are certain high-risk cargoes, and these are the list of high-risk cargoes. And we all know that ODC, over-dimensional cargo, is a very high-risk cargo. Okay, high value and low quantity का जो cargo रहता है, diamonds, high-risk cargo. Perishable cargo, extremely perishable cargo is fish meal. Remember this, fish meal is the extremely horrible kind of a cargo which experiences losses most of the times. एकदम बहुत खराब cargo है, उसको high rating होता है, fish meal. Temperature controlled cargo is again a very this. Then machine with no testing facility, it is again a high risk cargo. क्योंकि अगर खराब हो गया तो उसको वापस भेजने का है, इंश्योरेंस अरेंज करने का. Okay. Now, these are some examples of high risk cargos. Jewelry, high-end mobile phones, tablets, all are thief attracting cargo. Pharma products, baby food, gaseous cargo, ये खराब होते हैं. Cargo designed for specific purpose. Cargo that cannot fit in a 40-feet container and requires special handling. उसको ODC बोलते हैं, over dimensional cargo. 40 feet का कंटेनर सबसे बड़ा कंटेनर है. Fruits, foodstuffs, ice creams, vaccines, because all are temperature controlled. Cargo falling under IMDG, International Maritime Dangerous Goods Code. उसमें होते हैं explosives, research and development explosives भी होते हैं. Infectious substances, radioactive material, flammable liquids, जैसे air turbine fuel हुआ, kerosene हुआ. Organic peroxides, they react with oxygen, they react with the atmosphere easily when they catch fire. Oxidizing substances. Now, depending on the kind of cargo, packing decide किया जाता है. Now, 20 feet box containers, 40 feet box containers, high cube general purpose containers are 45 feet. High cube containers, open top containers, flat racks, etc. ये सब काफी सारे ऐसे containers है. Now here what we have to understand is these two terminologies, FCL and LCL. ये कभी कभी पूछा जाता है. FCL is full container load. LCL is low container load. FCL is the container is packed to the rim. मतलब उसका जितना capacity है उतना contain कर लेता है. And when partially it is filled up, it is LCL. Okay. Now we can just go through this. Exposure related to voyage. यहाँ पे भी देखो आखिरी में मैंने tail and risk लिखा है. Because this is a very bad exposure. I mean, bad risk which is to be covered. So, as prudent underwriters, you just go through the slip that has been received, especially when the slip is provided by the brokers. As a prudent underwriter, we should also be aware of the geographical and the political situation of that particular area जहाँ से ये goods आ रहे हैं, and the route by which it is going to travel. So length of the voyage, it is an exposing factor. Number of transshipments. The more number of transshipments, more is the vulnerability of the cargo to loss. Movement of cargo from tropical zones to temperate zones. Temperature damage हो सकता है. Geographical conditions, political conditions, etc. So, according to me, I have covered whatever was possible in 2 hours. Now, apart from that, if you have any questions, you may ask me on our Telegram group. I will try to answer, as I have always answered, all the questions that you will be asking me on the Telegram group. With that, I would like to stop here, and it is already 12. I have tried to cover whatever I had intended to cover and whatever was important from exam point of view. So if you have any,
hello, sir, can we get these 2 PPTs?
Yes, certainly. I will share it on the Telegram app.
Okay, sir.
Okay, certainly. I will
thank you, sir. The lecture was very good.
Yeah, thank you. What if you have any questions relating to marine or maybe say fire, you can ask me definitely.
Sir, it will be great help if you can arrange one session on marine hull.
Yes, there is a marine hull session. Probably on Monday evening it is marine hull lecture. I will be taking that lecture, and it will be again 2 hours are very less for covering marine hull, but I will try to encompass whatever is important from marine hull point of view. Okay. So any questions relating to this, you may ask me on Telegram. So I will stop the share over here. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for.
Thank you, Yogesh sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was an excellent
Thank
lecture.
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Bye.